You wake up and you feel it, that heaviness in your chest, the tiredness that doesn't lift. The man in the mirror looks older than you feel inside. But what if I told you there's one morning drink that can change everything? Not a pill, not a prescription, just something you probably already have in your kitchen. I'm Dr. Michael Stone, and I've spent the last 25 years helping men over 50 reclaim their vitality. Today I'm going to show you the exact morning drink that my patients call the fountain of youth. But first, let me tell you about Robert. He came to me at 63, a retired architect who used to run marathons. Now he couldn't walk up a flight of stairs without stopping. His wife told me he'd stopped initiating intimacy. He looked at the floor when he said, "Doc, I just don't feel like a man anymore." That was 6 months ago. Today, Robert works out 5 days a week. His testosterone went from 280 to 580, and he and his wife just booked a hiking trip in the Alps. The secret? What he drinks every single morning. And it's not what you think. Most men over 60 are trapped in a slow decline that they blame on aging. But aging isn't the problem. The problem is a cascade of biological breakdowns that start with your endothelium, which is the inner lining of your blood vessels. That lining produces nitric oxide, the molecule that tells your arteries to relax, your heart to pump efficiently, and your penile tissue to fill with blood. After 40, your nitric oxide production drops by 50% every decade. By 60, you're running on fumes. And when your endothelium fails, everything fails. Your energy, your erections, your mental clarity, even your muscle recovery. But here's the good news. You can rebuild that nitric oxide production with a specific compound found in certain foods. And the best way to deliver it is in a morning drink that I'm going to show you exactly how to make. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me back up and explain why this one drink works when nothing else did for Robert. You see, Robert had tried testosterone replacement therapy. It helped a little, but it wasn't fixing his energy or his erections. That's because testosterone alone doesn't improve blood flow. In fact, if your estrogen is high or your SHBG is binding up your free testosterone, more testosterone just floats around uselessly. The real bottleneck is nitric oxide. Without enough nitric oxide, your blood vessels stay constricted. Your heart has to work harder. Your brain gets less oxygen. And your penis? It simply cannot achieve the pressure needed for a rigid erection. That's the physiological reality. Now, the compound I'm talking about is dietary nitrates. Not the nitrates in processed meats that form nitrosamines. I'm talking about natural nitrates from vegetables like beets, arugula, and spinach. When you consume these, your body converts the nitrates into nitrites and then into nitric oxide. This process is enhanced by an acidic stomach environment and the presence of certain oral bacteria. In fact, your mouth bacteria are crucial. They reduce nitrate to nitrite, which you then swallow and convert in the stomach. That's why using an antibacterial mouthwash right after drinking this can completely sabotage the benefit. I'm going to give you the exact protocol in a minute, but first, let me address the elephant in the room. You might be thinking, "Doc, I've tried beet juice. It gave me a headache and did nothing for my energy." I hear that all the time. The problem is that most store-bought beet juices are pasteurized, which destroys the nitrate-converting enzymes. They also lack the synergistic compounds needed for absorption. And they're often loaded with sugar, which spikes insulin and actually impairs nitric oxide production. The drink I'm talking about is different. It's a specific combination of raw, unpasteurized beetroot, pomegranate, and a few other ingredients that work together to optimize nitric oxide production. Let me tell you about another patient, Frank. Frank was 68, a retired police officer with a history of mild hypertension. He was on a low-dose beta blocker and had borderline erectile dysfunction. He could get erections, but they weren't hard enough for intercourse. His urologist had prescribed sildenafil, but Frank hated the side effects: stuffy nose, headache, and that weird blue tint to his vision. He came to me frustrated and embarrassed. I had him start the morning drink protocol. No other changes. Within 3 weeks, his blood pressure normalized enough that his cardiologist reduced his medication. Within 6 weeks, he reported morning erections for the first time in years. His wife noticed the difference. Frank told me, "I feel like I'm 45 again." Now, let me explain the science behind why this works so well. When you consume these nitrates, they enter your blood and are taken up by your endothelium. There, they're converted to nitric oxide by an enzyme called endothelial nitric oxide synthase, or ENOS. But here's the catch. ENOS becomes dysfunctional with age due to oxidative stress and a lack of its cofactors like tetrahydrobiopterin, BH4. When ENOS is uncoupled, it produces superoxide instead of nitric oxide, making things worse. That's why you need more than just nitrates. You need antioxidants that protect the endothelium and help recycle ENOS. That's where pomegranate comes in. Pomegranate is rich in punicalagins, which are powerful antioxidants that also inhibit the breakdown of nitric oxide. Combined with beets, you get a 1-2 punch. A steady supply of nitrate substrate and a protective shield that keeps that nitric oxide working longer. I also recommend adding a pinch of sea salt. Not table salt, but unrefined sea salt rich in trace minerals like magnesium, potassium, and selenium. These minerals are essential for ENOS function. Magnesium in particular helps relax blood vessels and improves the efficiency of nitric oxide production. Most men over 60 are magnesium deficient without knowing it, and that alone can slash your nitric oxide output by 30%. Now, before I give you the exact recipe, let me mention something important for tracking your progress. One thing I started recommending to my patients is tracking their specific symptoms daily: energy levels, morning erections, blood pressure, and mood. There's actually an app I use with them. I'll leave the link in the pinned comment. It helps monitor these markers and adjust the protocol weekly based on your body's response. It's the same tool I use in my clinic to ensure my patients are getting results. Back to the protocol. Here's how to make this vitality drink. Take 1 medium raw beetroot, washed and peeled. Chop it into chunks. Add it to a blender with 1 cup of fresh or unsweetened pomegranate juice, not from concentrate. If you can't find fresh pomegranate juice, use half a cup of frozen pomegranate arils. Add the juice of half a lemon. The vitamin C enhances nitrate conversion. Add a 1/4 teaspoon of unrefined sea salt. Add a 1/2-inch piece of fresh ginger for its anti-inflammatory effects and to aid digestion. Blend until smooth. If the texture is too thick, add a little filtered water. Drink it within 15 minutes of blending, preferably on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. Do not use mouthwash for at least an hour after drinking it. I recommend starting with this every day for at least 2 weeks. Then you can dial it back to every other day for maintenance. Now, the science doesn't stop there. There's a third factor that most people completely overlook: your gut microbiome. Those same oral bacteria that convert nitrate to nitrite? They're also influenced by your gut health. If your gut is inflamed, you'll produce less nitric oxide. The key is to support your microbiome with prebiotic fibers and probiotics. That's why I also recommend eating a tablespoon of raw sauerkraut or kimchi with your breakfast. It provides lactobacillus bacteria that enhance the nitrate-nitrite-nitric oxide pathway. Now let's talk about the results you can expect. In a 2022 study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, men over 60 who consumed a daily beetroot and pomegranate blend for 4 weeks saw a 20% improvement in flow-mediated dilation, which is a direct measure of endothelial function. That translates to better blood flow everywhere, including to the penis. Another study from the University of Exeter showed that nitrate-rich beetroot juice reduced the oxygen cost of walking by 12% in older adults. That means you can walk longer without getting tired. And a clinical trial at the University of Texas found that pomegranate juice increased blood flow to the penis in men with erectile dysfunction by 50% after 3 months. But here's where most men go wrong. They try this drink once, feel a slight tingle, then stop because they don't see immediate results. The endothelium takes time to repair. You need at least 2 to 3 weeks of daily consistency before you see changes in your energy and erections. And you need to combine it with other lifestyle factors: good sleep, stress management, and avoiding alcohol, which is a direct vasoconstrictor. Let me address a common question. What if I have kidney stones? Beets are high in oxalates. That's a valid concern. If you have a history of calcium oxalate kidney stones, I recommend using arugula or spinach instead of beets. Arugula is also rich in nitrates and has fewer oxalates. You can make a green smoothie instead using 2 handfuls of arugula, the pomegranate juice, lemon, ginger, and sea salt. It works just as well. Now let me deepen your understanding of why this approach is superior to popping a pill. When you take a PDE5 inhibitor like sildenafil, you're forcing the blood vessels to dilate regardless of the body's natural state. It's like using a fire hose to water a garden, effective but crude, and it comes with side effects. The natural nitrate approach works with your body's own production system. It's like building a smarter irrigation system that waters the garden evenly and sustainably. Over time, your endothelium becomes more responsive, and your natural nitric oxide production increases. This means you may not need medications as often or at all. In fact, one of my patients, George, 72, was able to stop taking his blood pressure medication after 4 months on this protocol. His doctor was amazed. The key is consistency and the right combination. Let me also address a major obstacle: statins. Statin drugs, while important for cholesterol management, can reduce coenzyme Q10, which is needed for nitric oxide production. If you're on a statin, I recommend supplementing with CoQ10 or ubiquinol, which helps restore that balance. And always talk to your doctor before making any changes. Now let me give you some practical tips for integrating this into your daily routine. First, prepare the drink the night before if you're short on time. You can chop the beetroot and store it in an airtight container in the fridge. But blend fresh in the morning because the nitrate conversion starts immediately. Second, make sure you're sleeping well. Poor sleep raises cortisol, which inhibits enos. I recommend getting at least 7 hours of quality sleep, and if you struggle, try magnesium glycinate before bed. Third, exercise in a way that promotes blood flow. Walking after your morning drink can enhance the effects by stimulating the lymphatic system. Even a 20-minute walk will amplify the results. Fourth, avoid smoking and secondhand smoke. Cigarette smoke directly damages the endothelium and impairs nitric oxide production. If you still smoke, this drink will help repair some damage, but quitting is the best thing you can do. Let me tell you one more story. When I first started using this protocol with my patients, I was skeptical. But after seeing results in over 200 men, I became a believer. One patient, David, was 66 and had been told by his urologist that he had severe venous leak and would need a penile implant. He was devastated. He came to me as a last resort. I put him on this morning drink protocol, along with pelvic floor exercises and lifestyle changes. After 3 months, his duplex ultrasound showed significant improvement in venous occlusion. He no longer needed the implant. He told me it saved his marriage and his self-respect. Now, I'm not saying this drink will work for everyone exactly the same, but the science is clear. Restoring nitric oxide production is the single most effective natural intervention for men over 60, and this drink is the simplest, most direct way to do it. If you're ready to take action, start tomorrow morning. Make the drink, be consistent, and track your progress using the tool I mentioned in the pinned comment. It will help you see the changes and adjust if needed. One final thought. You are not broken. Your body is not failing because you're old. It's failing because the environment you've created inside, through diet, stress, and lifestyle, has stopped supporting the pathways that keep you vital. This drink is a powerful way to reset that environment. But it's not a magic bullet. It's a tool. Use it well. If you found this valuable, subscribe. I share new research and protocols every week to help men over 50 reclaim their best years. And remember, the app I mentioned is linked in the pinned comment below. I'll see you in the next video.